Hey, folks, we've covered a lot of weird topics here on American Loser, and these are some of our top WTF moments so far on the show. I hope you enjoy.
Fill her up.
You're listening to the Gas Digital Network.
On the edge they take the throne, built on bones of those unknown. Not in first, never last, still erased from the past. I am an American loser. No one remembers my name. No legacy and no future. One step behind in the game.
Folks, if you are hearing my voice right now and seeing this video, that means one of two things has happened. Either Skynet has been activated and you are part of the resistance and I'm your John Connor, or Carly gave birth to my baby and now I'm at home doing baby stuff. So we want to make sure that we did not leave you guys without anything here because I love being over in our Gas Digital era. It's made a lot of my dreams come true. And I owe that to a lot of people. Mike Harrington could not be here because he has to run trivia. Okay, he's not doing well, folks. That's why I bring him on all the time. It's really a wellness check. But Paco is behind the booth over here, who has been just doing a kick-ass job nonstop here. We're going to test some of his skills today because he's got to pull up a lot of stuff. As you guys know, Harrington was our original producer until he was future endeavored, if you will, and got sent out to just find himself in this world of ours. So Paco does not know some of these messed up moments we've had from the show. I'm not doing like a best of or anything like that. What we're doing here for you guys is these are weird little factoids from the episode where I'm like, this could have been something I spent 20 minutes on, but really I could only give it about 90 seconds or so in order to keep the show moving and trying to get to the topic we're talking about. And then also, Dom could not be here on this one, so guess what? Another ace producer, possibly my favorite employee at this entire company. Jorge, how are you, buddy?
I'm all right, even though I heard you trying to advocate Dom for Employee of the Month.
It's the goal is we want it to turn into such a vicious competition that all of you elevate one another, and then you guys, we can't have you guys realizing that you don't need the podcasters though, and then you guys lead a rebellion and start killing us all in our sleep.
Oh, okay. As long as it's for violence, I'll allow it.
Oh, you know what? That's fair. I'm honest to God, that's why you guys are my favorites. So life is pretty good over here, man. We are going to dive into these topics immediately. But you guys know the deal. You want to support the show. You want to see what I'm up to. At KP Burke Sucks over on Instagram. That's the only way I can kind of reach you guys right now with some of these reels. We're putting everything up. It's Here Lies KP Burke is the YouTube channel. And, of course, my book, History Isn't Boring Your Teacher Was. That's where I do the cleaned up kind of adult version of this if you wanted to send it to your racist uncle or maybe a grandparent or somebody who really enjoys American history. Father's Day is coming up eventually, right? I mean, it's after Mother's Day, which is the real holiday, but that's, it is what it is, okay? Sometimes we got to live in a matriarchy, and sometimes that's what's best for America. But we're going to dive in over here immediately. I got a couple of these wait what moments from American Loser that have blown my mind. The first one I have over here is that we covered the Gerald Ford assassination attempts, and I was blown away at some of the info that I found. And I hated that we had to skip over this one particular detail. But yes, a Manson girl, a member of the Manson family named Squeaky Fromme, she is one of the people that attempts to unalive President Gerald Ford. Her attempt, I believe, takes place in Sacramento. And a couple of days earlier, it was kind of strange because I couldn't get over this one. Squeaky Fromme will make a visit, or at least attempt to visit, somebody probably even more famous than Gerald Ford. She is knocking on the door of the hotel, looking like she's probably strung out on some sort of narcotics and a little bit disheveled. And she's trying to speak to or seek an audience with Jimmy Page. You guys know who Jimmy Page is, right? Obviously, okay. One of the greatest guitarists of all time, the guitarist of the one of the biggest bands of all time, Led Zeppelin. Jimmy Page is, I think it's a safe... more people know Jimmy Page than know Gerald Ford was ever the president of the United States. But Squeaky's showing up over there and speaking to his manager, and she's actually telling him, she goes, I just really need to talk to him. This is in 1975. That's our girl Squeaky. She looks like she's, thinking about getting into open mic comedy over there. They always do. And Squeaky's trying to visit with Jimmy Page, the man. Great picture, too, by the way. As she's trying to speak to the manager of Jimmy Page and say, please, can I talk to him? I want him to know that I had a vision last night, a vivid dream and a vision about evil and danger that Jimmy is in right now. And Page's manager goes, he's sleeping. I don't want to, maybe come back another time or something. She goes, by the time I get back here, it'll be too late. That's what a Manson girl. They didn't know she was a Manson girl at the time, to be fair, but she was creepy looking. She goes, by the time I come back, it'll be too late. And she insists on giving a note to him instead. So she writes down a note and leaves it with the manager. And the manager forgets to give it to Jimmy Page. A couple of days later, he's going to recognize her. The manager of Jimmy Page will recognize her when the news story breaks that someone just attempted to assassinate President Gerald Ford, and then they show her dumb, stupid little picture after she forgot that when you have a automatic pistol and you load the magazine into it, you have to chamber around. So she doesn't know how to do that basic part of it. So she went up. She pretty much could have got him, but she doesn't know how to use a firearm. So she's sitting there and just points the gun at him, gets tackled by Secret Service, winds up in jail for a while. And Jimmy Page's manager sees that and goes, oh, I don't want anything to do with this. Tears up the note for Jimmy Page, makes it disappear. The world does not know we have no idea what Squeaky Fromme was trying to warn Jimmy Page about. Maybe it could have been about like an upcoming copyright lawsuit from some band that they stole a lot of their tracks from. I don't know. But that one definitely stuck out at me. So number 2 I have over here. This is a tricky one. The spelling of this one's going to be tough here for you, Paco. But the original director of 1922's Nosferatu, I believe his name is FW Murnau. Murnau. He's a German fella, I think. 1992's Nosferatu, I believe, was a silent film. Fun trivia fact that you can use whenever it's available to you. The first talkie was in 1927. The movie's called The Jazz Singer. But in 1922, the silent Nosferatu movie, which is iconic, is directed by this guy, FW Murnau, who will die tragically, possibly with a boy lover in the car with him in 1931. That is Murnau right there. Good pull. Man, Paco is money. He truly is. Keep in mind, he dies in 1931. His corpse, I believe, is buried over in Germany, is found to have been broken into. We discovered this on the grave robber episode we did out in Utah. They broke into his grave sometime in 2015. So he's been dead and in the ground since 1931. And in 2015, someone broke into his grave and stole his severed head. I'm going to assume that the tissue had decomposed and the muscle had decomposed, but the skull of F.W. Murnau, director of Nosferatu, was stolen. And the creepiest part is that when the security was over there taking a look at it, like, oh, we had a grave robbing. Who is it? It's someone from 1931. It's a famous director of movies. And then the other part that they noticed, yes, he made horror movies and they were very creepy and set up a lot of weird kind of occult type culture. They found melted candle wax all around the grave area, and they believed that it was some sort of a satanic cult or a goth cult or an occult group or something like that, whatever you want to call them, that did a ceremony, and they used F.W. Murnau's severed head as part of the ceremony. So yes, the fact that happened in 2015 while I was alive doing comedy, trying to figure my life out, and then there's a goth weird occult group that's digging up dead directors' heads, specifically the horror ones. I just thought that deserved a little bit more time to breathe than I gave it on an episode about Utah. So our next one is pretty great here. Paco's going to mark out for this one. Paco, if you don't already know this one, I'm very excited to tell you this. You know that NASA was essentially loosely created by a guy that practiced sex magic and the occult.
No.
You know who Jack Parsons is?
No.
Jack Parsons is considered like the American father of rocketry.
Okay.
And rockets are interesting for a couple reasons. Number one is that after World War there was things in the armistice agreement that said that Germany was not allowed to build up a military again. They had a certain amount of tanks they could have. They had a certain amount of guns they could have. They couldn't have a huge standing army. But rockets were so new and technology-driven that Germany was able to put all their focus into this. So the rockets that are being used in World War II to bomb Britain are the same rockets that are eventually turned into early spaceships.
Oh.
Yeah, so... and this, what it is that NASA was able to work with a bunch of these guys that were all rocket scientists. You hear that term all the time. Rocket scientists are so rare that they need to have pen pals in other countries. So American rocket scientists are going to be writing letters to the British rocket scientists, who are then writing letters over to the German rocket scientists, and they're blown away at how close they all are on this project, and they're all inventing rockets and stuff like that. Jack Parsons believes that one of his rockets was stolen by a German guy, and that's what they were using to help bomb Britain and attack. I mean, it was all part of Blitzkrieg warfare, was rockets, and the Germans were only allowed to get into rocketry because it was so new that the armistice agreement to end World War I didn't really take that into account. It's like, imagine we had an armistice right now, and then you're like, all right, so no TikTok, Facebook, or Instagram. But then a new app comes out tomorrow, and you're like, well, I guess the Germans are just going to do something with that app now. Anyway, Jack Parsons is fascinating, practices black magic, hangs out with Aleister Crowley. He's getting into the sex magic thing. He's doing a lot of creepy stuff. Even his own wife is getting a little bit involved with all of it, too, to the point where Jack Parsons, who Aleister Crowley says could be the greatest asset for the occult that the world has ever found, he's got a massive drug addiction, he's got a sex addiction, and he's also putting out great work for the U.S. government and helping them develop what's going to become the modern space station. That's 100% true. You can look that up. There he is. That is actually a bomb that he was brought in to be an expert for. They based Tony Stark's father in Marvel, in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. They based his look off of that character, Jack Parsons, because he was a genius. Very flawed guy. But anyway, Parsons is putting together all this crazy stuff here, but he's a true believer in this stuff, this occult magic and everything like that. And he gets led astray because a guy shows up and pretty much cons him. He says, oh, I have visions too, like you have. And I had this great vision, and he earns his trust. And over a couple of years, this guy says, Jack Parsons, I have an idea. What if I go down to Florida and I get a fleet of ships, and we're able to do this, and we can help build up this Aleister Crowley occult thing, and we can really bring it into the mainstream. Just give me your life savings, and me and your wife are going to go down there, and your wife's going to come with me so that you guarantee to get your money back. And Jack Parsons goes, well, of course, if it's all for this weird occult esoteric shit that we're doing, let's bring it into the mainstream. Gives him a bunch of money, sends his wife down there with him. Turns out the guy was running off with his wife, so Jack Parsons loses his wife, and then the entire fortune is used to buy a bunch of ships, and then his wife, who does officially leave him and starts to, winds up marrying the guy that ran off with him. The guy's name, by the way, was L Ron Hubbard, and they will write a book together called Dianetics, which will be the precursor for the Church of Scientology. So yes, Jack Parsons was summoning the devil as a teenager and practicing occult magic and helping kind of usher in this whole new world of technology and how we can kill people with it. But he did get cucked by L. Ron Hubbard, and now you have to listen to Tom Cruise talk about Lord Xenu sometimes because of it. So yes, we don't know how important something's going to be. All right, how did we get from NASA to Tom Cruise jumping on a couch on Oprah's show? I don't know either, but apparently it's just L. Ron Hubbard. Okay, that's the missing link there, folks. Our next one that early on, before this channel was able to get monetized on YouTube, and I don't do it for that. I came to Gas Digital because I wanted to do my show, and that's one of my favorite things Paco said to me when I first got here. He goes, do your show. Don't try to come up with whatever the clever terms are to get around stuff. Don't self-edit anything. Just be yourself on the show, and that's what I've fucking done, and thank you for that. This one, we were trying to figure out how to hide it because this letter that we found that was written by a scientist over in It was in Puerto Rico. The reason we found this topic was because two Puerto Ricans will make an attempt on President Harry Truman's life. And the cause was for Puerto Rican nationalism. They didn't like the way that the status that they were holding there. There was a government that was oppressing a lot of the people. Some people wanted to join the United States. Other people wanted to run their own country. And these two assassins come in and try to take out President Truman while he was napping. And they almost succeeded, too. They got a little bit farther than they thought. But one of them winds up being killed in the attack, and the other one winds up wounded, but is kind of celebrated as a hero for trying to get involved with that. And their cause is actually pretty much, they're given their own constitution at that point, I believe. So I also just want to mention, too, if I ever get facts wrong on this show, DM me at KP Burke Sucks over on Instagram. It might go into my other folder, and I might not see it for a little while, but I do check it from time to time. I welcome correction because I work pretty hard to be right on this stuff. If I'm ever wrong, though, I want to be corrected, and I'll give you full credit for it, too. All right? Our fans have been nothing but respectful about that, so I'm very grateful. But please consider DM away, okay, is what I'm trying to tell you. Now, one of the things that made the Puerto Ricans so eager for their own autonomy is that there was a cancer research facility that was doing tests on people down there, trying to do like a cancer research. And it was interesting because it was a Rockefeller-funded research center, we'll call it, but they were doing a lot of experiments there. And they had a scientist whose name was, I'm not kidding, Dustin P. Rhodes. That's right, Paco. Dusty Rhodes was down in Puerto Rico, setting people up, trying to figure out how to tackle cancer. Yep. Now, this Dusty Rhodes, I would say, is the evil Dusty Rhodes. Because one night, he will go on a drunken rant in a letter that will have his car broken into, and he decides to just say, he goes, picture every terrible racist rant you've ever heard from every celebrity ever when they slip up and they don't know the camera's rolling. And this guy just writes it in a letter talking about the only thing wrong with Puerto Rico is Puerto Ricans, right? And he can't wait to get rid of them. And he says, that one funny line that cracked me up, goes, these Puerto Ricans, they're not people. I'm telling you, they're less than even Italians. I can't stand the sight of them. This island would be paradise if we could just get rid of them with a big flood. And then he admits that he's been injecting cancer cells into some of the Puerto Rican patients in hope of eradicating them in some way, shape, or form. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and say that's not going to really win you the hearts and minds of the people you're trying to help over there. But yes, that is evil Dusty Rhodes, who was just a minor character in that bigger story about the attempted takeout of Harry Truman. We did an early episode, Mob Boss Carmine Galante. My friend Tara Canastraci came on here, and she's a sweetheart, but she spent most of the show correcting my terrible pronunciations of Italian last names. Carmine Galante was a psychopath gangster. He wound up getting killed over in Brooklyn. A couple of armed men in trench coats walked into Joe and Mary's restaurant, I believe it was, in Brooklyn, and just opened fire on shotguns and laid him out. And this guy who was known as the Cigar died with the cigar still in his mouth. He had just finished lunch, put his cigar into his mouth, got lit up. And he was a boss, and they had to have a lot of permission. I think that's Carmine Galante there. We got to check on those because the pictures are never always right. But Carmine was a sick dude. Carmine was so psychotic that the mob realized they had to take him out. Now, to take out a boss, you need permission from the commission, which is what Tara taught me. And there was enough going on there that even his own family was trying to take him out. They were like, he's just lost his marbles, man. Carmine Galante decided to carry out a bombing on his absolute nemesis, a guy by the name of Frank Costello. So Frank Costello, who, by the way, I thought was funny, kind of pretended he was Irish for a little while in his life because he thought that would help him in business. But Frank Costello was considered like the great communicator of the mafia. He could have sit-downs with people and talk people down from a war or whatever. But Frank Costello had a major enemy in Carmine Galante, and Galante orders that he get bombed. All right, go bomb him. Find where he is and bomb him. Only weird part is Frank Costello has been dead for years, and they know exactly where he is. He's in his mausoleum in the cemetery. And Carmine Galante goes, I don't give a fuck. Bomb it anyway. And they literally bombed this dude's mausoleum. That is how you kick somebody. I mean, he's 6 feet under and he's still getting attacks on him. I mean, I don't even know how you process that one. But yeah, that was good old psychopath Carmine Galante. This next one, I really think I wrote a damn good episode on this because I was trying to be as accurate as possible, and we're trying to talk about something like Jonestown, but from a different angle. And the closest thing the Jonestown story has to a hero is Representative Leo Ryan, who will lose his life by going out there on like an exploratory investigative meeting to sit down and kind of hang out with people. He's trying to find out, is Jonestown really a cult? Are these people, under duress? And they were. People at Jonestown were trying to escape, and Leo Ryan is trying to escape with as many of them that want to leave as possible and return them to their families. And their families were the ones that begged Leo Ryan to go, and he was one of the only people who was brave enough to get out there and do this. So Leo Ryan is trying to help these people escape from a cult, and he loses his life doing it. He dies on the airfield. Leo Ryan had 3 daughters. One of them will go into politics and will actually work with Jackie Speyer or Spire, I'm not sure what her name is, but that was his assistant, if you will, Leo Ryan's assistant, who had a very successful career in her own right, and one of her main supporters, if you will, was Leo Ryan's daughter. So that was very kismet. That's the movie. That's the Hallmark movie you want to make right there. Another one will go into cult awareness because she's very terrified that the people of Jonestown believed in this cult leader so much that they would actually kill her father for trying to get people out of the cult. So she worked in cult awareness for a while, and cult prevention as well. And then finally, there's the other daughter. And Paco, I'll give you one guess what she did.
Started a bakery.
Close. Very close. She joined a cult, buddy. Yep, she joined a cult. She became, I believe it's part of the Rajneeshpuram, which was a cult that essentially invaded Oregon in the 70s and 80s. And they interfered with elections by poisoning people at a local salad bar. They were heavily armed. I mean, they were essentially bringing Jonestown type vibes to the people. You're talking a pre-Waco time, so no one really knew just how bad it could get, but it's a little bit of a horror story over there. But yes, she in fact was a member of that cult and was probably a part of a lot of the crimes in the outside the limelight, working in the shadows type thing. So when your dad dies fighting a cult, you should absolutely say, well, maybe this cult is different, you know?
I mean, like, sometimes, you gravitate to what you know.
That's I read that line and I was like, there's no way. This is somebody messing with us on Wikipedia or something like that. Now, this one's my favorite. Hit me, buddy.
Hold on real quick. We're a little bit like halfway through your list, right?
Yes.
Are you trying to make this a fast episode?
It doesn't have to be a full one.
Well, I mean, we can take our time and explain some of the stuff. Because, I mean, you are kind of going through it. I'm like, wow, that's a lot. But maybe, like, Jonestown. Like, honestly, I have no idea about any of Jonestown. So maybe you could, a little context and, like, what some of the occult stuff we're doing.
How much time are we into right now?
We're only 23 minutes, and I think you're halfway in.
Yeah, okay. That's I can slow her down a bit.
Yeah, I mean,
I appreciate
give it
that.
a little fat,
It's that's the problem. No one else is here to. I love when Harrington or my father will distract me. My favorite thing on the show, by the way, is when listeners pay attention to this one. I bust my father's chops all the time. When I ask my father, "All right, Dad, do you have anything else you wanted to say?" He goes, "Oh no, I just wanted to talk about real quick," and then he just goes into a whole nother thing. So every single time I ask him, he always bounces right back into that. Yeah, Jonestown, for those who don't know, Reverend Jim Jones was at times a civil rights hero, and he decided that he was going to start the People's Commune out in, I believe he wound up in Africa, and he found this place he was going to live. He was going to build his perfect commune. They were going to build in harmony. It was going to be a society that did not see race. It just saw family and love, everybody all together. Now, that photo right there, that's Jim Jones when he still looked like a human being. But our boy was straight on speed to the point where he couldn't not be photographed without sunglasses on the rest of his life because he had those giant dilated saucers. He was a terrifying man. And he escapes with these people. That's a little bit more of the... I mean, you can't tell me he's not a creepy-looking dude. There's something ominous about a man wearing a priest's collar and then also having the sunglasses. So... but yeah, he builds this commune over in Africa, and he has a deal with like the local warlord because there's no political stability in Africa. It just is what it is. And he's kind of living his life over there, but people are writing home to their families, and communication is not really great. It's very difficult to get any information out there, and there's people stateside that are losing their loved ones. Like, hey, my daughter went to Jonestown. Who will possibly help us? And Leo Ryan, who is a representative from, I believe, San Francisco, he represented California in the U.S. House of Representatives. He was the absolute hero of this whole little endeavor. He goes over there. He pledges he's going to go over there, and he's like, first of all, here's how cool this dude is. He locked himself up in prison once under a fake name so that he can investigate inmates' claims that they were being abused. So he was boots on the ground. Like he was a people's politician. I probably would find a million things I disagreed with him on, but you can't deny the man had integrity. So he's going to dive in head first on every issue that he tackles. And unfortunately, Jonestown is the one that he's going to lose his life in. So he's done a bunch of cool stuff. He actually worked as a substitute teacher in the school systems that he was being told were underfunded and highly problematic. And he noticed how bad the budget cuts were affecting him. So he was just a cool dude, an active proponent for change. And then he gets over there to Jonestown, figures out, he goes, hey, anybody who wants to come with me can come with me, right, Jim Jones, right? And he goes, yeah, if you don't want to be here, you shouldn't be here, right? And then, boom, what do? They set it up so that Jim Jones and a couple of the other cronies are going to have guns and rifles out on the airstrip as Leo Ryan is waiting for his plane. And he gets gunned down for having the audacity to try to get these people back to their families. The families were begging him, please, Representative Ryan, go over there and do this. And Jim Jones he did not have full devotion from his followers. That's been a misnomer. A lot of people think, you ever see the photo of Jonestown after everybody drank the Kool-Aid? It's haunting. It'll mess you up. It's they talked about poison Kool-Aid over there. And when you hear the term drinking the Kool-Aid, they're talking about the cult-like mindset that Jim Jones was able to get in there. A lot of the people would not... He did have people that were legitimately drinking it, by the way. Unfortunately, a lot of the people that didn't want to be involved with all that, they were held either at gunpoint or held down by stronger people and the guards, and they were injected with bleach, and that's how they died. So... he did a mass execution. It's one of the saddest stories in American history here. And that's why when you're looking for a hero, it sucks that the closest thing you have to a hero is Leo Ryan, and he winds up dying too, just on the airstrip. So pretty dark times over there on that one. And Jim Jones, you can hear the recordings. My buddy Andy Highroller actually bought, I think, a vinyl record of a couple of his sermons and stuff. And you can hear, Andy's a weird guy. He's one of my best friends on planet Earth. I love him to death, but he's got some very creepy taste. Him and Zach Amico would be instant best friends for, oh, cool, you have a picture of G.G. Allen? That's amazing. I have a picture of G.G. Allen. Leo Ryan is a character on this one. This one you're going to love. Paco, if you were doing the show with us back then, originally this topic was picked out for Lewis, okay? But we couldn't make this one happen for Lewis. So I did, it actually worked out even better. Fega came in for it, and Fega's the perfect guy to talk about that something as messed up as this. I'm on a trip in Cape May, New Jersey, and Carly loves Cape May. I spent a lot of time down the shore. I never got down to Cape May. And we're on a tour of one of the old Victorian houses there, and part of the tour, they're talking about the famous magic acts of the day that would come by and play in like a theater during the Victorian era, because comedians were like the rock stars of the Victorian era. And there was a guy, one of the most famous magicians of the era was Chung Ling Soo. Chung Ling Soo. He was the ancient Chinese conjurer was his name. And he had a whole act knee-deep in mysticism. There you go. So now tragedy will strike one night. He's on stage in London, massive theater, big house. People are coming out to see him. He's world famous. And he's going to do a bullet-catching trick in his mouth. So someone's going to fire a musket, and he's going to catch the bullet in his teeth and show the crowd, and they're going to be like, wow. Now, the way the trick probably worked is that the musket is loaded with like just a blank or something, and then the bullet is actually hidden in his mouth, and then he pops it out into his teeth. But it looks like, for the Victorian times, it was a little bit easier to pull a con on somebody, that he could pull the bullet out of his teeth and be like, ta-da, I did it, guys. Except they weren't properly cleaning the musket that was firing all this stuff, and there was something that discharged out of it, and it shot our boy, Chung Ling Soo. It shot him in the chest. So Chung Ling Soo, the ancient Chinese conjurer who never breaks character, never not looking poise, realizes that he's been shot on stage by his own prop gun. He turns to the crowd, and he goes, lower the curtain, something's gone wrong. Now, there's a couple weird things with that. Number one, did you just watch a magician die during his own trick? This is pretty amazing, Jonathan. We didn't know that you could just be intentionally messing up comedy or magic for the sake of comedy. But the other part is that they're like, hey, I thought he was Chinese. That sounded like a white guy. Why is this white guy... I swear, wasn't he from China? Isn't that what he said? And so, unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you want to view this guy, he dies the next day or that night in the hospital, I believe. So he's going to die essentially on stage. And his final words to the crowd are, oh no, lower the curtain, something's gone wrong, in perfect English and with an American accent. It's because his real name, first of all, he wasn't Chinese. He was doing yellowface the entire time. That's what he was doing. He stole another magician's act. The guy's name was, let me see if I can find it over here. Chung Ling Soo, the real Chinese conjurer. His entire act was stolen by this guy. His name was Robert Ellsworth, I believe. And he was a dude from New York of Scottish descent. And he would take grease and gunpowder and mix it up and then pour it on his face to appear yellow. And then he cut his hairstyle into like the Oriental. I know that's a troubling term for some. But the Oriental style, like the Jackie Chan had it in that one movie when they just grow the giant ponytail out from the very back. They don't have the rest of their hair. So, and he stayed in character, and he forced his wife to pretend she was Asian too for the entire duration of this magic act that he had stolen from a real Chinese practitioner. And then boom, it blows up in the guy's face. He dies on stage stealing a trick, stealing a persona, and then people find out the next day, oh, that's weird. He's just racist. Who knew? Kind of weird on that one.
I believe this is the original guy, Chung Ling Soo.
Chung Ling Soo, yes,
And
sir.
he's
That
right
is the
next
real
to,
one.
I believe this is Harry Houdini.
That's Houdini. That would make sense that they would be friends. And by the way,
That's a dark Chinese guy, though.
it looks like
It looks like he's doing blackface.
looks like Yul Brynner if they just left him in a tanning bed too long. But yeah, the weirdest part too is that he's known in history. He actually appears in the movie The Prestige. That's where I kind of first heard about him. But I'm just on this tour in Cape May. It's a ghost tour, and Carly's sitting there, and she's like, I'm literally taking my phone out on the tour. Like, I have to talk about this on the stage, and I have to get Fega to come talk to me about doing yellow face magic. If you were on the show then too, buddy, we probably wouldn't let you sit in the booth. I'd have to have you in here with me. Like, tell me when I'm saying the wrong things. So, were you here for Captain John Smith, Paco? I can't remember.
I don't believe so.
Okay, Captain John Smith. You know anything about him off the top of your head? John Smith. Come on, you know a little something.
Oh, that sounds like the guy from Pocahontas.
Nailed it. So my understanding of his life was he was Captain John Smith who came to America, and then I couldn't believe how much of the fake history I fell from. Like, oh, and he fell in love with Pocahontas, and that's why she saved him from being executed by when he was establishing the Jamestown colony. And, he was also a young guy, and he was really well liked, and everybody thought he was super heroic. John Smith's life before he gets to the New World deserves a movie. He's not John Smith, he's John Wick. It's crazy how much violence this man saw. He, first of all, will debunk the Pocahontas thing. She was about 10 years old by the time John Smith got over there, so her act might have been symbolic in saving him from execution, or it might have been that they said he was mock executed so he could become a member of that particular tribe that they were having interactions with. So the whole John Smith mythos is that, and this is crazy because the reel that we did for this one, 3.2 million views, doubled my following on Instagram, and almost every other person was arguing with me. That's not true. John Smith, it's really creepy that he would marry a 10-year-old. And I was like, all right, stupid. John Rolfe is actually the guy that she marries. Different dude, tobacco farmer, who, by the way, gets killed in Jamestown about 10 years after Pocahontas dies. Pocahontas does not have a happy ending. That's why the movie, the first one, they never should have made the second one. It should have ended after the first one because they gave you as close to they gave a non-happy ending the closest version of a happy ending they could get, where John Smith goes back to the New World, which is true, and Pocahontas stays with her people, which is true. But Pocahontas essentially gets captured and is held for a ransom and marries a guy named John Rolfe, who was the biggest tobacco plantation owner in the area. And he's doing so well financially, he goes, well, I'm going back to England to kind of show my profits off over here. Let me take my sexy little Native American wife over there with me. She'll be kind of cool over there. He brings her into high society. She gets audiences with royalty. She's considered a bit of a celebrity while she's over there. Falls ill on the journey back and dies. Pocahontas never makes it back. Pocahontas is actually buried about maybe 90 minutes to 2 hours away from where John Smith is buried, both in England. So that is what we would call our Native American princess, which I know is a problematic way to kind of phrase that or whatever, but we're working. This show's for blue-collar people, okay? I want people that are interested in history, not trying to write their thesis based off some bullshit I'm saying. So it is crazy that the concept of a Native American princess, which is how Europeans had to understand what the chief's daughter of the Powhatan people would have been, we actually did it that way to try to help sell her as part of something. So now they're like, oh, she wasn't a princess. Yeah, but do you understand what a compliment that was back in the day? They were trying to say this is of a noble people. These are not the savages you've heard about that skin people and eat them alive. But anyway, yes, the most famous Native American princess is buried in England. It's weird. It's unsettling, too. Now, John Smith, prior to even getting over to the New World, he just goes straight mercenary for hire. I think he was going to work as like an accountant or something like that, and it just wasn't going to fit for him. So our boy winds up fighting in a bunch of wars, and he loves killing Turkish people. I mean, he loves it. His family, the John Smith coat of arms, if you could pull this up, Paco, this would be great, because I want to show it to you in real time if I can. John Smith's family coat of arms. The church that he was baptized in England, I believe, has this commemorated in their own stained glass. But when you look at it, it's pretty nuts. This is another clip that went pretty big for us over on Instagram. John Smith was fighting the Turks in, I think, what was known as the Long Turkish War. And there it is. Okay, so, Paco, I'm just going to ask you, there's no wrong answers here. What do you see? What do you notice about this particular stained glass window?
All right, I see a knight. I see 3 dudes with pumpkin hat on his head.
Kind of looking like they're Turkish fellas, right? Is that
if that's
fair?
what a Turkish guy looks like.
Yeah, that's kind of what the Turks were looking like. Long, curly mustaches. That was their thing. That hat would be part of their normal dress for back then. And do you notice anything about their bodies?
They don't have any.
Because John Smith's legacy is that he killed 3 Turks in a row in singles combat and severed all 3 of their heads. So they put the severed heads on his family crest, and he was honored forever for that because they couldn't believe what a brave fighter he was.
So you just, dang, the standards were so low back in the day.
You think so?
3.
Just 3? You want more?
Well, I mean, that's technically nowadays 3 is a serial killer. We have so many of those.
It's the serial killer versus remember, serial killers are allowed to do exactly what they want to do during times of war. So that's why I always folks, listen, if you're a listener of mine, you're a sociopath. There's a recruiting station near you. It looks like we're into another endless war. We're going to see what happens. Get out there, have your fun now have your fun. All right, fulfill your wildest fantasies and also earn free Applebee's every November. Come sit next to me and tell me what you did to earn it.
This is almost like their version of the spray painted T-shirt of when somebody dies.
That's what a comp to pull, buddy. What a comp. It's crazy. So family coat of arms. I'll tell you what, could you pull up the Burke family coat of arms? There's actually a cool little story about this one. It's not nearly as cool as having the severed heads of 3 of my enemies on it forever, but as you guys know, I am a Burke. I'm adopted into a Burke, so I've always kind of felt like Jon Snow from Game of Thrones a little bit, where my dad's a really good man. I love my dad. I love my mom, but I'm always like, I don't know, am I coming from some sort of royalty or something? That Burke family coat of arms, if I remember right, it's Ung Foy, Ung Roy, Ung Loy, which I think translates to one God, one king, one country. And they came over. They're what's known as Norman Irish. So you have Ireland has kind of got immigration waves that come through it. And when the Norman conquerors came in, they came over. And I think that they were known as De Burka at the time. And what it was is that during the Crusades, the Saracens, who were the Islamic warriors, they had gold shields, and a Burke, warrior, if you will, was fighting with one of these guys, and the Saracen shield was dropped, and then he was killed, right? And then I forget which king they say it was. I think it was Strongbow, something that he was just a total badass. He walked over, saw that this De Burka warrior, or De Burgo, or Burke, as we would now call it, which my understanding is like Smith in Ireland. Burke's extremely common. He took his fingers and dipped it into the blood of the slain Saracen and then painted it, and that's the cross on that golden shield there. The red cross is actually the blood of your enemies. So, but what can you say about the Crusades, guys? Sometimes young men have to get out there. Maybe that is the cure to male loneliness, is another crusade, fellas. Maybe that's the cure. So, but yeah, that coat of arms, as badass as it is, and I'm proud to be a Burke and everything, not as badass as John Smith's. John Smith will also be knighted by I believe it was the Prince of Transylvania. Now, the Prince of Transylvania, his cousin is Blair Bathory. Not Blair Bathory, I'm sorry. I'm blanking on the name right now. Elizabeth Bathory. There you go. Elizabeth Bathory, who, I don't know if you guys know the stories about her, but they say that she's where a lot of the vampire mythos comes from in Transylvania. They said she was a serial killer and that she used to drink the blood of young women in her town in order to stay young and youthful. She would take full-on baths in their blood. So yes, that woman was, by the way, alive and a contemporary in the time of Captain John Smith, who will then also be captured and then converts to Islam by force. So technically, Jamestown in Virginia is settled by a Muslim man. So I'm sure they'll spin that one in there eventually. But John Smith's life before Pocahontas deserves at least 2 movies. His life after Pocahontas, still pretty damn interesting. We know he's one of the most important people, and a lot of people also say that he's remembered too fondly for the legend stuff, and you don't pay attention to enough about the real details. And a lot of other people say that, well, because his life was so cool, we forget what a giant dickhead he was in real life. But he was the guy who coined the term, "Those who do not work shall not eat." So that was the rules in Jamestown. He goes, if you're not out there working every day, you don't get food. All right? That's how it works here. So he was kind of a big swinging dick in Jamestown, but he managed to help them save everything here. This guy's great. Paco, are you ready to talk about how Mad TV has a one-person link removed from a Nazi prisoner of war?
No, but I'm excited.
I figured he would be. Jorge is bored of this by now. Jorge just goes, I've been here for most of this show, all right? Burke talks about this all the time. I don't understand it. He just can't wait. So...
No, yeah, I'm interested because, like you say, you gloss over some of these things in order to accommodate for, like, the guest schedule or something like that. And there really is a lot that goes into your preparation and, of course, the actual history that went on. So.
You really are a saint, dude. Thank you for saying that, because this is, again, this is more so a clearing the air, and I wanted to give these things time to breathe rather than us doing just like a cheapo episode here. I didn't want to just play a best of or something, or do something tacky like play my entire original comedy special, Escape from Jacksonville, for you guys next week. Maybe it's going to happen. I don't know. I've never had a baby before. But that being said, this next guy is fascinating. Klaus Kinski. If you could pull up a photo of Klaus Kinski, big on the K's over here. It's very weird. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but the people that are about to get tied into this story are pretty wild. Klaus Kinski is a terrifying-looking man who was pretty much a sociopath, but he was a good actor. I would imagine all sociopaths are good actors, too, by the way. I think that's probably part of the core. That's why they're able to meld into society. That is Klaus Kinski. That's a little bit older, more subdued version of him. They said working with him on a set was pure chaos. He used to attack people. He would lock himself into his trailer and just destroy the entire trailer. And you would think that that was crazy here if you didn't just accept the fact that he was already a crazy person. He was actually, his own director tried to have him killed once on the set of a movie. And there was another Italian movie that he was working on where the producers had an insurance policy on him that they offered to have him whacked and everybody could split the insurance policy. He was out of his absolute mind. Now, Klaus Kinski discovered his love of acting. How did you discover a love of podcasting, Paco? How did you decide this was going to be the life for you?
I don't know. I have no idea. It was just like, honestly, it was just seeing like Lewis getting flamed online, and I was like, who's this misogynistic guy? He seems like a bad person. Oh, he's hanging out with Dave Attell? Let me listen to this. And that's what happened.
Well, I'll tell you what. Klaus Kinski discovered his passion in a somewhat similar way. He discovered he had the acting bug while he was being held in a British prisoner of war camp because he was a Nazi. Nazi paratrooper, mind you, too. And he straight lied about everything about his service. He said he was forced into the service because he's technically Polish, right? He was trying to claim he came from a free city. And then he says he turned himself in, and that's why he should be, allowed to leave these camps or whatever. And they said, yeah, that's pretty crazy, dude. Paratroopers is kind of like special forces for the Nazis, so maybe your story's not quite checking out. But while he's in this British prisoner of war camp holding Nazi prisoners, they put on a Christmas pageant. He's enamored with the stage. He can't wait to get out there and do his jazz fingers. He does a little number and he goes, this is what's been missing in my life, folks. And they said, well, all right, well, if you want to have an acting career, you're going to have to get out of this prison camp and maybe you can start doing live theater back in Germany. And then they said, well, the only way out of the camp right now is they're only letting sick people out. So Klaus Kinski starts drinking his own piss and eating cigarettes in order to make himself sick to get out of this Nazi prisoner camp. It doesn't really work. Can you look at his face and not just sit there and be like, yeah, this guy is either batshit crazy or this was a hot woman in the 70s that's trying to stay youthful looking, okay? It looks like, honestly, it looks like Klaus Kinski. That's like the closest thing I can come to saying to it. Kinski will escape, not escape actually, but he will eventually be released when the war is over. And he is a train wreck of a human being. Can you Google who, I want to make sure I have it correct here, who directed the movie Grizzly Man? He's a documentary filmmaker. He made a bunch of other great movies too, but he will have a lifelong...
Werner Herzog?
I thought so. Werner Herzog. He meets... Werner Herzog's about 10 years old when he meets Klaus Kinski, and they lived in the same apartment building, if you will. And Klaus Kinski, they had a shared bathroom, and Klaus Kinski destroyed the bathroom and would smash it up. He also threatened to kill patrons of the theater that were like paying him and said he does great work. And he goes, "Oh, how great is my work?" And then he would ask for more money, and they would say, "Well, we don't have any more money." And then he would try to kill the people trying to give him an acting career. So what's a boy to do other than move to Hollywood? He winds up playing in a bunch of movies with Clint Eastwood. He does a lot of Western movies. He's always playing a bad guy because he's very creepy looking. He does make 2 of the most important movies ever made. One of them is Fitzcarraldo, directed by Werner Herzog, okay, and he is a tour de force in that movie. The other one he makes is called Aguirre, The Wrath of God. If you want to have a mindfuck go on here, Paco, this is a German-made movie about Spanish conquistadors, acted by, directed by Germans, speaking German, playing conquistadors as they explore the new world. They're looking for a new El Dorado, a city of gold kind of thing. And Aguirre was a real guy, and they said he was a total bastard. So who better to play him than a total bastard? Klaus Kinski, absolutely terrifying human being. So now that moves on to, he's in Hollywood, he's making a little bit of a name for himself, but his family life is very troubling. He's got a lot of issues going on at home here. His daughter is going to be Natasha Kinski. Natasha Kinski might be in movies that you actually know. She does a lot of she's still alive. She's doing a lot of acting work. Very pretty, classic-looking kind of German girl. And Natasha Kinski is actually going to marry, who was it that helped create Mad TV? I'm blanking. Quincy Jones. Quincy Jones, who, yes, helped create Michael Jackson's legacy and everything like that, and also gave us Mad TV. Natasha Kinski will marry I don't think she marries him, actually, but they have children together. And those kids, by the way, are half-siblings to... I'm blanking on this one, too. What's the name of the girl from Parks and Recreation? She's half black, very pretty.
Rashida Jones?
Rashida Jones. So Rashida Jones and her sister dated Tupac, by the way. Yeah. Imagine a family reunion of that whole family. It's a very broken family. It was Rashida. So it was, because Rashida Jones's mom was the girl from the Mod Squad, I think. And she was also in Twin Peaks. But imagine that where you're sitting down and you're like, all right, we have Tupac is here, and Quincy Jones is here, and and Natasha Kinski is here, and I keep wanting to call her Peggy Lipton, who I think is Rashida Jones's mother, and then also Rashida Jones's sister's there, and she goes, all right, so I have Tupac here, and anyway, Natasha wanted to know if her dad, who fought for the Nazis in World War II, could come hang out. Is that okay? Don't worry, by the way, he's totally cool now. He's a normal actor and definitely is not violently assaulting coworkers on the regular. So, Klaus Kinski is about as creepy as they come. And yes, that is how we got to Mad TV, from talking about a prisoner of war camp in Britain. Our last one, let's see if
well, you have 2. You kind of skipped one. But if you would like to see a picture of a Natasha Kinski.
She was a smoke show. She's actually in what's considered one of the best movies ever made. I watched it, and I got to tell you, I could see why it was revolutionary for its time, but you know when something just doesn't hold up anymore? Paris, Texas. And she's like a blonde Southern girl from Texas or whatever, and she's in like the peephole kind of rooms, like the voyeur rooms where you're behind a glass thing. And it's a sad movie. It's got Harry Dean Stanton in it, who I think is awesome. But that was one of those movies where I was like, all right, it's 3 hours. I keep getting told this is like Criterion Collection, and I'm just sitting there bored. You ever watch a Tubi movie and you're like, oh, thank God it's an ad. I got to pee so bad. There's so many things I want to make. I feel like I can get my air fryer going here and try to get my Sunday back. Things get rough when the Giants get eliminated from the playoffs in my house, folks. All right? But yeah, Natasha was a smoke show. Now, the other 2 that I had over here is, we talked about this. Were you on for the Zapruder film yet or no, Paco? I can't remember.
I was not, but doing research on your show, this was the one that I saw.
Oh, hell yeah, dude. Yeah. Zapruder and his camera, just a nice Ukrainian fella who happened to be had a hobby of making movies. He had home movies, maybe of his family. I think as a kid he had a little camera that he would try to make a movie, maybe him as a cowboy or something. I know there's plenty of home video footage of me thinking I'm Clint Eastwood running around the backyard. He winds up filming at Dealey Plaza on the day that President John F. Kennedy gets assassinated by Lee Harvey Oswald. When you've seen the footage of JFK being shot in the motorcade, that's his footage. He's the only guy that had a camera that day. Now, he is the subject of a ton of conspiracies. Have you ever heard the conspiracy that the missing frame? Have you heard about it? You love this stuff.
No, I haven't, but I've been told things, so I've yet to look into it myself. But.
Okay, there is a missing frame, which according to Zapruder is he doesn't want... Zapruder gets locked down almost immediately because he had the camera there. Secret Service wants to talk to him. So they talk to him, and he goes, all right, I'm going to make a copy. We're going to make 3 copies of this. I'll make a copy for myself that I keep. I'll make an extra copy for myself, and I'll give a copy to the Secret Service. And the Secret Service is like, hey, you've done your patriotic duty. We need to know what happened here. We're going to try to solve this crime. Whatever bill of goods they sold him, he went with. He was trying to be a true American because he loved President Kennedy. He was literally, it destroyed him to have to watch that man die. And he had this one little thing in there too, where he goes, they said, try not to sell this for any publications or anything. And Zapruder, at the end of the day, money talks, man. He winds up selling within 24 hours to a couple news agencies, and they buy the footage. And he has one thing where he says, you got to remove this one frame because it's the frame where JFK's head explodes. He goes, I don't want that in there. The conspiracy theory for a while was that there was multiple frames cut out and that one of them was a Secret Service agent who actually turned around, who was in the driver's seat, and he's the one that shot Kennedy point blank, right? That's been largely debunked. But people were making fake Zapruder films to try to show, you want to see what really happened? But anyway, what winds up happening is he sells it to a news organization, and he says, just take out that one thing because I don't want to find out that there's a keep in mind, Times Square back then was a filthy den of iniquity and prostitution and, buying drugs and stuff. He didn't want like a weird little voyeur booth where you could pay, $5 to go see JFK's head get blown off in Times Square. So anyway, this one's worth mentioning. He sells it to Life magazine the very next day. And Life magazine is actually, this is being purchased on behalf of a guy named Charles Douglas Jackson, who had ordered the purchase. Interesting thing about Charles Douglas Jackson is that he was, in fact, a former CIA liaison to President Eisenhower, had a long history in psychological warfare, and also had worked with the OSS, which was the precursor to the CIA as well. And this one blew my fucking mind because I had the notes up because I read the reel for this one before Fega came in. And Fega was the guest for that one. And Fega goes, oh shit, he created Bilderberg? Yeah, the Bilderberg group, the one that Alex Jones was campaigning outside of in front of. The very creepy meeting where all the leaders of the different countries of the world meet up and decide what's the agenda for the actual idea of a deep state, a weird Illuminati type thing. This guy helped create that, and he attended, I think, 7 out of the first 10 meetings that they were a part of. It's insane. This guy is the guy that now has his hands on the Zapruder footage. He buys that footage, views it on a Sunday. I believe JFK was killed on a Friday. I might be wrong on this one. I'm spinning stream of consciousness on this one right now, guys. I don't have all my notes in front of me. So whenever JFK is killed within 48 hours, that footage is now held by Charles Douglas Jackson, and who locks it up in the Time Life magazine vault, if you will, in New York City. And the footage was not to see the light of day for many years after that. And believe it or not, it was a comedian that helped get it exposed to the public. A comedian a lot of people sleep on. He's historically important. He passed away a couple of years ago. Dick Gregory. So when comedians start getting involved, I think we all groan a little bit when a comedian starts getting preachy on stage. But here's the best part. Dick Gregory was funny. So if you're funny and you want to say, hey, also I do this other thing, that's how it works. You can't just say, hey, I'm done being funny. It's time to be preachy now. Talking to you, Schumer. But yeah, that one blew my mind that this guy who literally helped create what we would call the New World Order is the one that has that footage locked up.
This is just a side note, but Dick Gregory was also a photographer, I believe, right?
That makes sense to me. I know he was a vegan too because he had a great point. I'm not a vegan. I'm not against vegans either, but he made a great comment about eating animals. And he goes, I'm a vegan. He goes, I don't want to eat nothing with a face. I don't want to eat nothing that pisses. And I don't want to eat nothing that shits. And I was like, that's a pretty good sell. That's a pretty good, if you're going to try to get old fucking tomahawk steak Burke over here to start, oh, goddamn, he's right. I don't want to eat things that shit. But yeah, Dick Gregory, very important person in history. He should actually get his own episode. And by the way, I've been so scatterbrained with everything, we didn't do a Black History thing. This one is off the cuff right now, so I'm going to go with this one. If I can remember his name, he has a street named after him. Harvey. I'm blanking right now. I'm so hard. This is killing me. Jamaican civil rights leader Harvey. Can you search that one for me? And as soon as I get his name right, I know his story because I was blown away by this one. My old producer was Marcus Harvey.
Marcus Garvey.
Marcus Garvey. I was so close. Marcus Garvey, who has a street name. I think there's a Marcus Garvey Park in Harlem, I'm pretty sure, which he was an interesting guy because he was Jamaican, and he started coming up with the idea of Pan-Africanism, where he was like, hey, I'm Jamaican, but you guys are from Africa, but we should all work together because at the end of the day, the world views all of us as black. And he created a thing called Black Star Liner. So he was actually coming up with the first cruise ships that were going to be specifically for black patronage. And he got effed up by the government. Look, motherfucker looks like Fat Patrick Ewing, but he was a genius, okay? He was a genius. And this is the ballsiest thing I've ever heard in my life. You're not ready for this. Paco's not ready for this, okay? I swear to God, he was trying to have a black separatist movement, and he was really big on the idea of going back to Africa or maybe going to a new part of the world and starting a country over where... Because keep in mind, when I say educated African Americans, I'm talking about the people that were able to go through a school system that were not subjected to slavery, where basic human rights were stripped away from them, and any intelligence they were given was taken away from them. My Jamaican coworker told me that kumbaya actually means come here, boy. That's what it means, and they would say it in a slang and a Jamaican vernacular and a dialect, because it couldn't be understood by the people who were supervising the slaves in the field. So kumbaya, I'm going just off this guy. He's my boy. I love him to death. He's a great coworker. But I believed him when he told me this. The other one I couldn't prove is that hush puppies were actually... You ever have hush puppies before? Oh, yeah. Jorge just nodded his head. Who hasn't had a hush puppy? But hush puppies, I couldn't prove this one, but I can't not prove it either. Hush puppies, the delicious little deep-fried balls of dough that usually are accompanied by seafood. Hush puppies were carried by escaping slaves to throw out to the dogs that were being sent to chase after them in the woods while they were trying to escape on the Underground Railroad. Yep. And by the way, if I ruined them for you, no, I didn't. Go have one. They're delicious, okay? Look past this one, folks. But Marcus Garvey was heavily investigated by all of the intelligence agencies, the three-letter agencies of the world, if you will. Very fascinating guy, had some big ideas. This was the ballsiest thing I've ever heard in my life. He actually was one of the most sought-after speakers and had a great relationship. You look at that guy. He's kind of wearing his military garb. He's a proud Jamaican man, proud African man in his Pan-African sense. He would go to Ku Klux Klan rallies and speak. And he would say, hey, guys, we kind of all want the same thing. You guys want us gone. We're looking for a new place to go. Let's meet in the middle, man. And they gave him criticism for that all the time. Marcus Garvey had a wild beef with the head of the NAACP, who was W.E.B. Du Bois, I think was his name. And he had a whole beef with him. And Marcus Garvey it was the first time you had a dark-skinned guy calling a light-skinned guy less than, or he goes, yeah, it's this light-skinned motherfucker over here. He goes, that little Dutchman, he can't be, you're not running my movement, you little Dutch bastard. Just shit-talking him the whole time. They had a total beef. And by the way, that was another thing, too, is that if a slave was, a freed slave once they had used the Underground Railroad or whatever means necessary in order to get to a free state during the Civil War, the lighter skin you were, the more likely you were to be brought to the abolitionist rallies, because then they were like, oh, he really does look just like us. Oh, look, this one has green eyes. I know someone with green eyes, because they thought that was going to help humanize. So meanwhile, you got a Wesley Snipes-looking motherfucker over there and like, great, we're so happy you're free. Do you guys need help at this abolitionist meeting? I feel like if I could get up there and try to talk a little. No, we're good. We're good. You're too terrifying. Have you considered fighting vampires? That might be more your thing. Why don't you go kill some vampires for us there, Wesley? Blade, by the way, best superhero movie, if anybody doesn't know that. But yeah, Garvey would go and speak to the Ku Klux Klan, and when he was given criticism by the NAACP for even entertaining the idea of talking to them, he says, they're just a Anglo-Saxon honor society, just like anything. Like, come on, buddy. Come on. All right? Like, I get what you're doing. You're trying to talk to them and see if maybe they'll do a donation. It's literally like that sketch about the gay Ku Klux Klan on Chappelle's show, where they send the gay Klan over. We hate, but we hate in a different way. Have you guys thought about going back to Africa? So, yeah, Marcus Garvey, one of the my producer at the time, who I love like family, called him the Big Kahuna. Longtime listeners know him. He is he could be an offensive lineman for the Jets if he wanted to. Big dude. And he told me at the end of that episode he was uncomfortable that I knew more about a guy from Black history than he did. Because he goes, I have never heard of this guy. And I was like, because they don't want you knowing about him. He's frowned upon in almost all communities because he was a little bit of an arrogant asshole, but he had a lot of ideas. So I'm going to go ahead and land this plane here for you guys, too. Like I said, I'm just a couple of days away from chilling at a hospital room. Leave in the comments section what episode. I'll tell you guys what. I was going to do a comment thing here, but Carly told me that we can bring our Amazon Fire Stick into the hospital with us. Have you guys ever seen what the birthing rooms look like in a hospital? It's better than most comedy condos I've ever stayed in. It's pretty amazing. We can bring the Amazon Fire Stick with us, and she goes, and you can watch any movies that you want. And then she gave me carte blanche and then stopped herself. She goes, you can't watch Alien, though, all right? Like nothing where something's popping out of somebody's chest or stomach. So I'm pretty sure if I time it right when they go to induce her for labor, if they tell us we have about 4 hours and I allow for pee breaks and maybe I'll stop and make a sandwich or something, I'm pretty sure I can get through Braveheart that my son will be born right at the time when William Wallace screams freedom. And then I can say, well, now we have to name him Mel Gibson Burke. Now that's his new name. But
I mean, it would be better than timing it to Alien, where if the baby comes out when the alien comes out.
Exactly. Do the chest burster scene. Yeah. It's now that was my other one too. She turned down naming him Bill Paxton Burke. I thought that was going to be God, I love Bill Paxton. That's but yeah, the final one that I'm going to hit you guys with here too, and again, thank you for indulging me in this episode. If you made it this far into this one, I'll be back to the normal long-form narrative if that's what you guys really appreciate. But I do love getting a chance to bullshit and talk with these guys. It's Gas has been nothing but amazing to me in terms of making me feel like I matter in this goddamn city a little bit. Also, New York City, I used to be terrified of you, but now I know where a bathroom is, and there's 2 of them in here, and that just makes me feel so much safer. Obviously, Rebecca Kaplan's been on the show, and she has one of the more unique credits. She's been on Letterman. Now, she was 6 years old, I think, when she was on Letterman. Paco, what would be, because you started comedy after me. There was a time in my career where I was like, ooh, getting on Letterman would have been the dream. Conan, right there is 1A, right? So Letterman was kind of done by the time that I realized I wasn't going to get on. But Conan, I always thought would be very fun to do a set on that. And I got to see friends of mine do it. Mike Racine went on and got invited to go sit over at the couch. Thought that was one of the coolest things. And Mike's one of the I really adore him. I got to get him back on the show. But I remember it being so cool that a guy I was on a show with on a Thursday was on Conan like a couple days later, and then watching Norman blow up after a couple of Conan appearances. Late night was still a place that comics could, get somewhere with. And I'm not shitting on anybody that's able to get on there now, but I just think it's different. It's unfortunate that a Kill Tony set will get you more, leverage in this field, if you will. But I'm sad that I won't get late night, only in the sense that I don't know if it would do anything for me now. I'm definitely not what they're looking for, but it does bother me, Paco, that Fidel Castro has been on late night 2 more times than me. That's right. Dictator of Cuba, human rights violator supreme, strongman aficionado, Fidel Castro was on not 1 but 2 late night programs. Both times were being interviewed. One was by Jack Parr, and this was back when they thought Cuba was going to be doing better under the leadership of Castro. The Castro was a progressive, and he was going to be, the ousting of the Batista regime was going to allow him to really make Cuba finally a friend to the United States. I don't know if you guys knew this, but Cuba was a problem in America's side as far back as the Jefferson presidency. We had to figure out what the hell we were going to do with all that. Thomas Jefferson was literally writing, what do we do about Cuba? Monroe Doctrine comes in not too long after. We start having Manifest Destiny shortly thereafter. Never able to get in and crack in with Cuba. And part of that is the mafia to be blamed. The Kennedys certainly didn't help anything over there with that. And even though you can go to Cuba now, I did think this was weird. Canadians go to Cuba the way that Americans go to Florida for vacation. That's how cozy of a relationship that they have with Canada, but not the United States. But yeah, 2 times he was interviewed as a hopeful person here. This is before he seized the national assets. There you go. Now, I can't tell because I can't remember if that's actually Jack Parr or not. Does it say?
This one is Ed Sullivan.
That's Ed Sullivan. Ed Sullivan, who famously brought the Beatles into America's living room, right? So that's Ed Sullivan having the talk with him. Jack Parr was able to get an interview with him. And Jack Parr infamously stated, because he goes, yeah, so I met Castro, and then I guess he immediately decided he hated Americans because we've just, kind of been in a total Cold War with them ever since. And then he nationalized all the assets and killed a lot of people. But apologies here, folks. So I would say this, long story short, every time I do one of these episodes, I come across some sort of a weird, messed up fact, and I would love to I try to figure out what's going to make a good reel and what's going to make a good episode. And these are 10 of the strangest facts I've ever seen that I thought would make good reels. Some of them did and went on to have big hits, and then other times, I guess, people don't give a shit about Martin Van Buren as much as I do. But maybe that's just on me, folks, all right? But we're going to wrap this sucker up over here. Paco, Jorge, anything you guys want to say before we send the good folks home? All right. Nothing?
Congrats.
Thank you guys are sweethearts on that one. And Paco, I'm going to be giving the chocolates that you brought back from Hawaii to my very pregnant girlfriend at home. But at the time that you guys see this episode, I will probably have quit comedy, moved on, left the network entirely, and just realized that finally having a child in my life is the missing hole that I needed, that I was filling with dick jokes for years. Shout out real quick to Paco and Jorge stepping up here. We did 2 in a row today on this one. You guys will notice because I'm wearing the same shirt. But absolutely love doing the show here. Love being a part of Gas. And again, it's at KP Burke Sucks over on Instagram. Keep up with me. We're not giving up on comedy. I'm only teasing on that one. I'm staying local for at least 6 weeks and maybe sooner if Side Splitters in Tampa gets back to me. But you guys have been amazing. Thank you for your continued support of the show. Keep checking us out on social media. We're posting more stand-up clips. Carly's back on Adderall, so this ship is going to be a fine-tuned thing here. And believe it or not, I think by the time I come back, we're closing in on 1 year here at the network, and I didn't think it was going to last that long. I keep waiting for the phone call from Lewis where he just goes, "Yo, doggy, your show's gay. You can't do it anymore." But Lewis has been nothing but supportive, as has Ralph. So that being said, folks, that was the top what the fuck moments American Loser.
They take the throne, built on bones of those unknown. Counted first, never last, still erased from the past.